You just got an offer on your house. It's a big number, and every bone in your body wants to say yes before the buyer changes their mind. That right there is exactly how sellers lose 15, 20, sometimes 30 grand between the day they accept and the day they close. The offer price is the headline, but the money you actually walk away with is buried in the fine print. And today, I'm going to show you the 7 things I check before I'd ever let anyone sign. Real quick, hit subscribe before we begin, because this channel is all about not getting burned on your biggest asset. I'm Jerry Davis, and after decades in construction and renovation, I've been on every side of this. I've fixed up houses for sellers, I've done pre-listing inspections, and I've watched more deals fall apart in week 3 than I can count. Almost every time, the problem was visible on day 1. The seller just didn't know where to look. By the end of this video, you will. First thing, and this is the big one, look at how the buyer is paying before you look at how much they're paying. People see the top number and stop reading. I get it. But a pre-qualification letter is basically a lender saying, sure, maybe. A pre-approval means someone actually pulled credit and verified income. Those are not the same document, and plenty of agents will slide a pre-qual across the table, hoping you don't notice. Here's what no one tells you about loan type either. If your buyer is using an FHA or VA loan, the appraiser isn't just valuing the house, they're inspecting it against minimum property standards. Peeling exterior paint on a house built before 1978. A handrail missing on 3 or more steps. A roof that looks like it's got less than a couple years left. Those become mandatory repairs, and guess who's paying for them before closing? You are. Don't get me wrong, FHA and VA buyers are fine buyers. But if your house has some rough edges, a conventional buyer with 20% down is worth accepting a slightly lower number for. A 95% chance of closing beats a coin flip every single time. Second thing, the appraisal gap. This is where people mess up in a hot market. A buyer offers you $30,000 over asking, and you're already mentally spending it. But if their loan is based on appraised value and the appraisal comes in at asking, that offer just shrank by 30 grand, unless the contract says otherwise. So read the offer and ask one question. Is there appraisal gap coverage in writing? That means the buyer commits to bringing actual cash to cover the difference between appraisal and price. No gap coverage means that big number is a suggestion, not a commitment. I've seen sellers turn down a clean, full-price cash offer to chase an inflated, financed one, and then eat a renegotiation 4 weeks later after they'd already told the other buyer no. That buyer is gone, you don't get them back. Third, the inspection contingency, which is where my world collides with yours. Here's the problem. Some buyers, or honestly some buyers' agents, use the inspection as round 2 of price negotiation. They offer high, knowing they'll claw it back with a repair list the length of your arm. Every house, and I mean every house, will generate an inspection report with 40 items on it because inspectors get paid to find things. Double taps in the electrical panel, a little flex duct crushed in the crawl space, a water heater with no expansion tank, most of it is a Saturday and $300. But it looks terrifying on paper. Here's a pro tip that has saved my clients real money. Spend $400 to $500 on a pre-listing inspection before you ever go on the market. You find out about the failing GFCI outlets and the slow leak under the hall bath before a buyer can weaponize it. Fix the cheap stuff, disclose the rest, and price accordingly. And when you're comparing offers, look at the inspection terms themselves. A 7-day inspection window is a serious buyer. A 14-day window with unlimited renegotiation rights is someone keeping their options open on your dime. Even better is an offer with an information-only inspection or a repair cap. Trust me, this matters more than a few thousand on the price. Fourth, earnest money. This one's simple and people still skip it. Earnest money is the buyer's skin in the game. And the size of that deposit tells you how serious they are. 1% on a $400,000 house is $4,000, and frankly, in a competitive situation, that's light. 2 to 3% tells me the buyer isn't planning to walk. And read when it goes hard, meaning when it becomes non-refundable, a big deposit that's refundable for any reason until 3 days before closing protects you against exactly nothing. Your house sits off the market for 6 weeks, the buyer bails over cold feet, and you restart from zero while every other buyer wonders what's wrong with the place. Because that's the part most homeowners forget. A house that goes back on the market carries a stink. Buyers assume the inspection found something horrible, even when it didn't. Fifth, find out if your buyer needs to sell their house to buy yours. A home sale contingency means your deal is stacked on top of somebody else's deal, and possibly a third one under that. I've watched a chain of 3 closings collapse because the buyer at the bottom of the pile couldn't get their loan through. Everybody above them lost their deal, their moving trucks, their rate locks, all of it. Look, I get it. Sometimes a contingent buyer is offering real money and their house is already under contract with a solid buyer behind it. That's workable. But a contingent offer where their house isn't even listed yet, that's not an offer, that's a wish. If you take it, at minimum, get a kick-out clause so you can keep showing your house and bump them if something better comes along. Sixth, the timeline and possession terms, which nobody reads until it's a problem. A 60-day close means 2 more mortgage payments, 2 more months of insurance, taxes, utilities, and lawn care coming out of your pocket. On a lot of houses, that quietly eats $5 or $6,000 off that impressive offer number. Flip side, a fast close sounds great until you realize you have nowhere to go. And now you're begging your own buyer for a leaseback and negotiating from your knees. Figure out your ideal timeline before offers come in and value the offers against it. And if you do a seller leaseback, put real terms on paper. Daily rate, security deposit, who's responsible if the dishwasher floods the kitchen while you're technically the tenant in your own former house. I've seen that exact situation. And yes, it got ugly. Seventh, and this is the detail that makes all the difference, the net sheet, not the offer price. The net, an offer of $410,000 with $15,000 in seller-paid closing costs, a home warranty, and a request for your washer, dryer, and that patio set is not a $410 offer. It's a $390-something offer wearing a nice jacket. Concession requests are how buyers make an offer look bigger than it is. And it works, because sellers anchor on the headline number like it's carved in stone. Make your agent run a full net sheet on every offer, side by side, with commissions, credits, title fees, prorated taxes, all of it. Sometimes the lower offer nets you more money and closes 2 weeks sooner. That's not a lower offer. That's a better one. And yes, I know some of you are going to disagree with me on this, but I'll say it anyway. The highest offer is usually not the best offer. The best offer is the one that actually closes at the number you agreed to on the day you planned for, without a repair addendum showing up like a ransom note in week 3. Strong financing, real earnest money, tight contingencies, clean terms. That's the whole game. One more thing before you go, because this one drives me nuts. Do not skip the prep work because you're in a hurry to list. Pull your permit history before the buyer's title company does. That unpermitted deck or the basement bathroom your brother-in-law roughed in, it will surface, and it's 100 times cheaper to deal with on your terms than during a contingency period with a buyer holding all the leverage. Service the HVAC, get the receipts in a folder, replace the corroded angle stops under the sinks. Boring stuff. Boring stuff is what keeps deals together. Tell me in the comments which one of these you didn't know about, or which one bit you want a past sale, because I guarantee at least one of these shows up in almost every transaction I've ever been near. And if you're getting ready to sell right now, ask your agent about the net sheet and the appraisal gap on day one. Watch how they react. It tells you a lot. Here's the takeaway. Selling a house isn't about grabbing the biggest number somebody waves at you. It's about reading the whole offer, knowing your house's condition better than the buyer does, and picking the deal that still looks good 5 weeks from now, when the moving truck actually shows up. Do that, and you keep the money that's already yours. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to see it. I'll catch you in the next one.